Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Canadian Gamers. We've got a couple of interesting topics for you today, and the rest are boring as sin. No, I'm kidding, of course. So the first thing that Stephen and I want to talk about today was just to go into a little more, without spoiling everything, details on our Halloween special, which officially kicks off tomorrow. So we really hope you guys are looking forward to that. Now, we didn't want to, spoil absolutely everything. Like, we're not going to tell you which games we've selected, but we did want to hype it up a little bit. So I'm going to let Steven say his little spiel, but I did want to say that for me, when I was picking my 3 games, what I tried to do was not necessarily think outside the box, but to sort of try and shine the spotlight on maybe some games that you guys haven't heard of before, or maybe that got overshadowed, or games that really have stood the test of time, really are fun, and I guess you could consider them hidden gems. So that's what I really tried to do with my 3 games.
And for my 3 games, I just wanted to pick some games. I picked 2 games rather that I had a lot of experience with, that I actually talked about a lot before, and one of those is, both of those are on portable systems. So one is for the DS and the other one is for the 3DS. And I'm sure that we'll have a lot of talks about those, because I can't wait to hear you guys thoughts about it. One is more like not a hidden gem, but more like a divisive title. It's not necessarily a classic per se, but it's a title I really enjoyed. And the other one is one of the best portable games released, in my opinion. And the last one is actually a game I had never played before. I actually purchased recently and went through it in 1 or 2 settings and had a blast to do so. And that title is for the Nintendo 64. So I think we have a pretty nice mix of titles and consoles that we're actually going to cover on that special.
Yeah, that's true, Stephen. I didn't mention my consoles. I'll go ahead and tell you the consoles. Why not? And like you, one of my games I had never played before, and I had heard amazingly good things, and it was actually a game that I looked for fairly often, and I still do look for it quite often, and I'm not going to say what it is, but it's for the Sega Saturn, and I don't want to spend $5,000 for it. So, so I've got one for the Sega Saturn. I've got one for the Sony PlayStation, and I've got one for... what the hell was it for?
The Super Famicom.
That's right, thank you.
And that's pretty nice, because I already got an advance screening of those reviews, if you can say, and that's the one I was the most interested of, rather, because I always wanted to know how can you make a game with Super Nintendo graphics scary. And as I found out in the review, it can be done, and it can be done rather well. And that's, I'm not going to spoil it, but look forward to that review. I think we're going to end the special with that one, or at least the review part of our special.
Yeah, and speaking of which, the total wrap-up, we're going to wrap everything up on Halloween itself, on the 31st, with a podcast. And I don't know, did you want to tease anything with that, or you want to leave that as a surprise?
Yeah, sure. Basically what we're going to do, and look forward to it, is that we're going to talk about our scariest moments during video games, during the time we played video games since we were a child until now. And look forward, because I think you're going to be surprised at some of my picks.
Oh, I guarantee you. I can tell you right now, it's most likely when Mario fell down that pit and stuff like that.
Well, let's just say they're not going to be as conventional as some of you are, because as you might know, I'm quite a scary cat when it comes to these things. And some of these games, I know you'll laugh at me, but I have to be honest here, so look forward to those.
I am looking forward to that. And so I think that's good to hype up the Halloween special for all you guys listening. I really, really, really hope that you all enjoy, especially for our retro fans out there. This is something you guys should be really excited about, because literally we're talking, in essence, about 5 retro games and one that is for a console or a portable rather, that's still around, but it's an older title now. So I'm really hoping that you guys like this, and like I mentioned when I did my little vlog there about it, make sure you let us know if you're interested in seeing things like this in the future. Steven was saying, maybe we could do like an import week one time. There's the Castlevania series, there's Contra, there's you name it. Like we could do these sorts of things in the future. They do take some time and patience and sort of planning on our side, but besides that, they are a blast to do. Like right now, I'm so proud of the work that we were able to do. I really wasn't sure. We've actually been holding off on mentioning this now for quite a few weeks because we didn't want to come out like I always do and say, hey, yeah, I promise you guys this, that, or the other thing, and then not deliver. So I really want to stop doing that. And this is like the first time we've actually done something big and stuck to it. So I'm really proud about this. And anyways, in other news, Steven has your Pokemon update. So why don't you go ahead and give your spiel.
Yeah, fantastic. Pokemon got a bit of a big news this week, and I was extremely excited about it because they're finally going to release some Pokemon games on the Virtual Console for the 3DS. And the games that are releasing are not bad, actually. They're not going to release the original classics yet. They're not going to release the RPGs, but they're going to concentrate on some spin-offs the series have had, and they actually chose two of the best spin-offs the Game Boy Color had, and those are games I'm really looking forward to actually try again. The first one is Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. It's pretty much a Tetris clone. I'm not that huge of a puzzle fan, but if you're into like Tetris Attack, or I think there was a game called Kirby's Avalanche for the Super Nintendo, was pretty similar. Make sure to pick that one up. It's going to be on the Virtual Console. I'm pretty sure it's going to be around $3 or $4, so it's not going to be that expensive, and it's a pretty good title. But the title to be the most excited about is a Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color. That was a fantastic game. At least it was when I was a child, maybe because I was so young that I had a lot of fun with it. But it's basically an RPG set with the Pokemon trading card game, a set of rules. So it's pretty fantastic, and I've been wanting to play it now for a while, and it's going to be on the Virtual Console, so it's going to give me a perfect excuse to finally get back into it. And as a bonus, if you haven't received a code yet to download the Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire demo, you're going to get one free whenever you purchase either one of those games. So that's a neat little incentive. And speaking of the demo, I actually got a code from Nintendo on this past Tuesday, and I've tried the demo a few times, and it's actually pretty cool. It showcased a few new things from the new title, which is going to be released on the 21st of November. What I really liked was the new Mega Evolutions. The game actually gives you a Glalie with the Mega Stone at the end of the demo, so that's pretty awesome. You're going to be able to transfer that to your full game once you buy the game. I'm pretty sure that's the only way to get that particular Mega Stone, and you can also see Mega Swampert and Mega Sceptile, which is fantastic. I also, from the looks of the demo, it seems like the graphics have been slightly improved, which was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting a little upgrade on the graphical side. And the last thing I want to talk about is the compatibility with Pokemon X and Y. It seems that Pokemon X and Y sadly will not get a patch, an update, so that the Mega Evolutions from Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby will not be able to transfer in Pokemon X and Y. That's a bit sad because it'll mean that you will not be able to fully play against players from X and Y, but I can understand it from a marketing standpoint because they do want people to buy the new games. They don't want them to stick with X and Y, so I guess that makes a bit of sense, but it would have been nice if the two games would have been fully compatible.
Very interesting updates there. I don't ever seem to get codes. I don't understand. I don't think the world likes me. It's strange that, but no, I actually have a feeling though that it's not that I'm not getting codes. I just actually thought of this. I have to check my junk folder because it might actually be in there.
Yeah, it might be.
Because I just find it weird if like all these people are getting all these codes and then they see, oh, Jarrod, screw that, not him. Anyways, that's interesting, though, about the compatibility. The fact that... I wonder why they did that. You said it was just from the competitive side, so...
Yeah, what I'm guessing is that for people, since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is not technically a new game from a storyline standpoint, maybe they thought that some people would just hold out on buying those games and would try to trade to get the new Pokemon Mega Evolutions. So maybe that way they won't have a choice to buy the new game. That's what I'm thinking about. Or maybe they just didn't want to spend the time and money on doing a patch for the new game.
Well, still, it's interesting. In other news, we have something interesting to talk about here. Not sure how many people follow GameSpot, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of you guys because it's a fairly popular site. And they actually posted a review just a short time ago for Bayonetta. I think it was, what was it, last week?
Not sure. I think that was, they released it on the same day as everybody else who had a review copy, and I believe it was last Thursday, but I might be mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was last week. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever. And the surprise was that they actually gave it a full-on 10. I'm going to let Steven explain why that's so surprising, but yeah, I did not expect that. You were the one who told me, you were like, oh, what do you think they gave it? And I said my thing, and you're like, oh, you checked? And I was just goofing around. I wasn't even being serious. And then when you told me, no, that's exactly what happened, I was like, what? So yeah, you can explain it in further detail.
Yeah, basically, I always viewed GameSpot as a bit more harsher than the other gamer websites on there when it comes to their final scores. Like, not necessarily in the review sometimes, but they always seem to be a bit harsher than the other guys, and that's not a bad thing. It's just an observation that I made, which could be absolutely wrong. It's just the way I felt, and they actually gave Bayonetta 2 a perfect 10, and Bayonetta, I have trouble pronouncing that name, but Bayonetta 2 got some pretty good scores. Like from IGN, I think it gave it a 9.5. Nintendo Life gave it a 9. So it got great scores. And then I checked GameSpot and I saw a perfect 10 there. And actually found out after that it's only the 8th time GameSpot ever gave a game a perfect 10. And I was surprised that they gave it to a game like Bayonetta, which is an action game. Like, I know it can be awesome, and I haven't tried it yet. You did, but I was really, really surprised, and I think this is pretty significant news because it could gain a bit more traction for Bayonetta, because Bayonetta 2, even though it's a really well-made game apparently, is still on the Wii U, which doesn't really have a huge user base right now, and isn't known for selling that many third-party. Well, I think that this might be published by... Oh, it's published by Sega, if I'm correct. So it isn't really known for having many third-party games selling. So I think that might actually help it a bit. I don't know if it's going to become an instant million seller, but it's going to gain some traction. And I was really, really surprised by that.
Yeah, no, me too, actually. Like I said, I mean, you text me and you're like, hey, what do you think they gave it? I say a 10, and you're like, you checked or whatever. And I was just totally joking. It was either going to be that or a 0. And, yeah, I was really surprised when you told me, yeah, that's exactly what they did. I was like, what? Like, GameSpot almost never does that. So I was really surprised. But the game itself, I mean, the thing is, with action games, it depends on what kind of action game you're going for. Like, technically, The Last of Us is an action game, right? But I view that more like it takes itself really serious. It's got that setting, that post-apocalyptic type of setting. It dealt with some really heavy material. But then you have games like Bayonetta and those type of, like, Devil May Cry, where the story is completely ridiculous. Like, it doesn't take itself serious at all. And it's the combo system or the action system that's crazy deep, and the way that it entertains you is ultimately what counts more so than anything else. And a lot of reviewers out there, I find, they don't get that. With those style of action games, they just don't get it. They're like, no, I want to have this massive, sprawling, crazy deep story, but not every game needs that. And I was really glad to read the review, because they do mention it. They're like, the story is total BS. It's just there for a reason to get you to the next, like, location. And there's nothing wrong with that if the game is fun and a blast to play, has really deep combat system, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I love that the fact that the reviewer, whoever it was, actually just stayed by that, you know. They stuck to their guns and they were like, no, this game it has nothing wrong with it. So what? It has a goofy story, and it's like overly sexual and all this. This is what they set out to do, and they achieved it flawlessly. And so I was really, really happy about that. And yeah, I hope you're right. I hope this does sort of draw some attention to the Wii U and to the game in particular. I know that I haven't pre-ordered it because I'm doing the digital download like I do for all my Wii U games. And I'm very excited to actually go ahead and play the game. I'm definitely going to be covering that one because, well, I had a blast with the demo.
Well, that's good to know. I think we're going to move on. And what was next on our list?
Next on our list is for you. It's your Saturday night night.
Yeah, that's something I'm really, really hyped about. So basically tomorrow, a bunch of friends and I are going to come, they're going to come to my place, and we're going to basically order pizza and whatnot, and we're going to play two survival horror games. And those games are Alien Isolation, which you just reviewed. Fantastic job, by the way, and you actually give it a 9.2 if I remember right, so pretty kick-ass game from the looks of it. And the other one is The Evil Within. So I'm not sure if we're going to play both, or we're going to play one till we maybe, and I don't think we're going to have enough time to beat it, but I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I'm extremely hyped to play these games, because I might be able to play Evil Within for a while, all by myself, but I don't think I'd last long. I'd probably like start crying or something. So I really want to share that experience with my friends, and all these guys, they really like that. Just not playing the game, but socializing and having fun. And these games seem perfect for that, and I can't wait for the opportunity to play them tomorrow night. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you say. If all goes according to plan, I shouldn't probably say this, but I'm hoping that the footage you see is of the beginning of The Evil Within, because that's what my goal is, but you never know. So hopefully that's what you guys are all seeing right now. I want to work my way through that one to get a review up, as soon as I can, because it's a game I'm really interested in. And as of late, that's what I've been doing. I've actually been telling publishers and stuff like that, like, no, don't bother sending me a copy of this game or that game or whatever, because in terms of time and stuff, and I don't like the idea of, like, I'm going to get a game that I'm not even interested in, just to get a review out? Like, that's stupid. So I want to cover games that I'm genuinely interested in, and go like that. And The Evil Within is definitely one I'm interested in. I love Resident Evil, and I love like all the work that Shinji Mikami has done, and so I'm really looking forward to that one actually. And for Alien Isolation, it'll be interesting to sort of see what you guys all think, because it's the type of game where you need to be isolated, thus the name. So I'm really curious if it's boring to play, with other players, or if it will hold up. And for the score, I don't remember what I gave it, and I don't care. Like, that's exactly like what I was saying with Bayonetta 2. It's not a perfect game. It does have its qualms and its quirks and stuff like that. And yeah, it's repetitive and whatnot, but I love that the entire way through, I was scared. Like, the whole way through. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Oh my god! Like, every 2 seconds. And it would be very interesting to hear your thoughts. And I guess we can talk about that next week, too, on the podcast, since it's going to be a Halloween special. We can see, like, did you crap your pants or what?
Yeah, for sure we're going to talk about it, but yeah, I'm really hyped about those games, and hopefully it delivers.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Otherwise I'm going to look like a moron. You're going to come back and be like, oh, the games are terrible. Alright, so the next topic is basically for me, so I guess I'm just going to talk to myself here. I got the 3DS. I guess we can go down and explain the whole story. Or did we already tell people that I was getting a new 3DS?
Well, why not repeat ourselves?
Oh, there we go. We're both getting old.
We usually do it anyway.
Exactly. And apparently people like it. Look at that Saturn video. It's doing very good. And I've probably posted that same video 13 times now. Anyways, so long story short, Steven told me that the new 3DS, was out in Japan, and that it's not going to be coming out here for an undetermined amount of time. We had confirmation that it would not be coming to North America in this calendar year. So it could be coming out in January 1st, but whatever. So, as he always does, he was pressuring me, and he got me showed me good deals on eBay and stuff like that. And sure enough, I made an offer, and we did talk about this already. But yeah, I made an offer, got a really good deal. I think I paid like $200 or something like that for the system, and picked up a couple games, which I don't want to tell you guys, unless I already did. I'm not sure, but I'm not mentioning it here. And anyways, so the system came in, I did my unboxing videos. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check it out. I compare it to the 3DS XL and the original 3DS, and I boot it up and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, what really surprised me with this new 3DS right away was the fact that this is truly a Japanese console. And I know to a lot of you guys, especially if you're big Nintendo fans, you're like, well, duh. But I didn't actually know that. Like, I did not know that you can't change the language to English, for example. This is through and through, this is a Japanese console. And I have a feeling I now know why they did this. Because you don't have multiple logins. Like, so for example, let's take the PlayStation 3. With the PlayStation 3, you could have multiple logins. You could basically say one of your logins was a European account, one of them was a Japanese account, a Hong Kong account, whatever. And by doing so, you would have access to those online shops. However, the problem was they would not accept North American credit cards. So, you were still kind of screwed like that. Yeah, there was a couple of workarounds, but still. But with this, it's the operating system itself, while it looks and feels exactly like the North American version will, it's strictly Japanese. Like, that's it. And everything about this console is Japanese. So, for example, if I open up the web browser, it thinks I'm in Japan. So Google, even though I put google.com, it doesn't scan my internet service provider like what would happen on your PC to say, oh, he's in Canada, for example, for us. Instead, it defaults automatically, no matter what you do. Even if you delete the bookmark and add it like google.com, it will still think you're in Japan, which is really interesting. And like I said, the whole menu, everything is all in Japanese, but there's a plus to this, and the plus to this is the glorious Nintendo eShop. Now, why is it, like, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal here is it accepts North American credit cards. Last night I tried. I put 500 yen, which is $5 Canadian, on the system. I didn't want to put like $100 or something. I wanted to make sure it worked first, and I was stunned. Like, they don't ask you for your shipping address. They don't ask for nothing. It just, boom, it just took the money and away we go, which is extremely interesting to me because as I was looking through the that's true. I was looking through the virtual console and I was looking through the eShop as a whole, and man, they've got some games. Like, they've got PC Engine games on there, and they have the stuff that we do, the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. They've got NES or Famicom disc games. They've got Game Gear games, but they got way more than we do. And that's interesting in and of itself, but what's really interesting, as a person who used to heavily import, I now have access to my own Japanese store. Do you know what I mean? Like, now, instead of having to go through and buy the physical copy of all these games and pay ridiculously inflated prices, for the first time in my life, I can now import games at cost, as if I was living in Japan myself. Now that is effing amazing. Like, I mean amazing. I don't need to pay $90 for a new Dragon Quest game because some douchebag on eBay or the stores is like, oh, well, it's new Dragon Quest, we got to charge you millions. I can pay the regular asking price of $50, $55, $60, whatever the hell it is. Oh, and that's something else I should mention. Unlike North American games, in Japan, they do not have a manufacturer's suggested retail price. So the games on the 3DS eShop vary significantly. You can go there and find games for like $20, or you could find games almost as high as $60. So it's really messed up, like how much it varies. But still, there's no more price gouging. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys out there who are collectors and you want the actual physical copy of the game. Well, you know what? Hey, power to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, this is exciting. I mean, this is actually genuinely exciting here, because for the first time in my life, a game such as, well, hell, let's just say Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest would be released simultaneously on the eShop as it would in retail outlets. So I could stay up till midnight Japanese time, which just so happens to be lunch for me. I could just log in at lunch and download the game instantly. No having to deal with import shops paying ridiculous shipping fees. There's no tax on the games. I just pay whatever the yen value is, and boom, away I go. And just looking through the eShop, I found, like, I don't know how many I told you, Stephen, but like maybe like 8 games or something like that I was interested in right away. Some really killer looking games like EX Troopers. There's a game called Beyond Labyrinth, which is an action RPG / dungeon crawler from Tri-Ace. There's an adventure game. What was it called? Hotel Dusk? Is that? And it's the exact same characters, the exact same story, like just, continuing the story. There's all of the Dragon Quest games. That includes Dragon Quest X, Dragon Quest VII, Dragon Quest Monsters 1 and 2. There's Bravely Default, which means that the second one, I forget what they called it.
It's second something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, whatever. That game, like, if I want to play that, if I want to show you guys what that's like in relation to the first one, well, I can do that now. I can just, instead of waiting 6 months for it to come here or whatever, I can just, boom, download it right away. There's all the Monster Hunter games. And you know what really surprised me? The amount of updates. I don't actually recall. Maybe I'm nuts. But how many updates do our North American games get?
Like system updates or game updates?
Game updates.
Not really. Depends on the games, man. I'd have to.
Because, like, maybe it's me. I'm not like you. You're a really big portable gamer there, so you would know more than me. But every single game I looked at on that list, every single one of those, okay, maybe not one, had, like, you could download the game, and then right beside it was, like, version 1.2, or version 1.3, or version 1.4. I was like, what the hell? It looks like they get, like, a significant amount of updates compared to us.
Well, who knows? That might be a possibility, but the thing that I like the most about what you just said was that you can get the import games now instantly. You don't need to wait like a week or two for them to ship your way. You can just buy them, and you can even get them, like, not before them, at the same time. For them, it's 12 o'clock, and you're actually at noon. You're still awake, so that's pretty has a lot of possibility for us in the future. You can have a scoops here and there because you'll get the game right away. So that's fantastic. It's like you'll be in Japan at the store, but instead you'll be here just downloading it away. And I'm really excited for that.
Me too, and I've got to admit something, man. This really is scratching an itch I didn't know I had. Because I used to love importing. It was something, it's the feeling of playing something that only a limited amount of people in North America are playing. And it's not the show-off aspect. It's the fact that well, damn, man, like, when this game comes out in North America, I'll already have experience with it, Like, I'll already be able to talk about it and blah, blah, blah. And with the channel, with the site, now what's so exciting is, like, well, damn, I could actually show you guys some really cool stuff months before it gets released in North America. Now, naturally, we all know with the consoles it's a little bit different, but now I'm kind of disappointed that the Wii U is not doing a lot better, because if it was, it may actually be worth it to import a Wii U strictly for the same exact reason, because you'd be able to download all the games instantly. And it sucks because I haven't been able to figure this out on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, because I haven't seen if there's multiple accounts you can create. I think you can on the Xbox One, but I don't know how it works for the digital download shops. I'm willing to bet that they still won't accept American or North American credit card.
Not only that, I don't think it would be worth it for the Xbox One, since it's a North American system. I don't think there's anything released exclusively outside of North America, but for the PlayStation 4, definitely it would be worth it.
Yeah, because like right away, I mean, Dragon Quest Dragon Quest Heroes. Like, damn, man, I wouldn't need to buy that. I could just download it, boom, right away. But I'll have to check and see, because I don't think it works, though. I don't think you can use a North American credit card, and that's ultimately what kills it. But if Nintendo continues to allow us to use North American credit cards, man, this is so exciting, it's unbelievable. All right, so the next thing on the list is for you. It's your Forza Horizon 2.
Yeah, I actually bought it, like, I think it was that last week, and I played it, and man, it's pretty addicting. I played Forza 5 for maybe an hour or two, and I just find it hard these days to invest into a game. When I was younger, or a few years back, I could maybe keep at a game if I wasn't hooked in at the beginning and keep playing, and eventually I would like it. And usually my rule is, if I beat a game, I for some reason become attached to it. Even if it's a bad game, I'll like it, you know? I don't know if you have the same feeling, but like these days I have trouble. I need to basically like the game right away, or within a short amount of time, if the game has any chance of me continuing playing it. And Forza Horizon 2 was really surprising, because in my mind, I was just going to try it a bit and come back to it later. I just wanted to give the Xbox a bit of chance. I hadn't played anything on it for a while, so I bought that, and I just couldn't stop playing. It basically plays a bit like Forza 5 with its Drivatar system, so there's not really any AI in that game. It's just people based on AI based on other people's driving aptitudes. So, like I said, basically the same system of Forza 5, but it's more like on an arcade setup. Like, you're racing in the streets, you can race, like go to a cornfield. There's basically, all you need to do is you have a start point and you need to reach the end, and you don't need to follow the roads. You just go to that place however you feel like, and it's pretty fun. There's tons of cars. Like, I'm not a guy that knows much about cars, but it's still a lot of fun to race, and everything is pretty solid. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Forza Horizon 2, and I'm pretty sure this is a game you'd like, because like me, I think you haven't really played much like simulation racers lately. Like, I don't think you played the Gran Turismo 1, but this game I think will be right up your alley.
Yeah, it actually sounds like it. No, you're absolutely right, man. My brother's been bothering me for, like, God, forever, because he's, like, hardcore into these type of games, and he keeps telling me, he's like, you didn't play Gran Turismo 5 with me, you didn't play Gran Turismo 6 with me, what's wrong with you, and all this stuff. But it's just that. It's the fact that it's exactly like you say. It's the time commitment, man. You've just got to spend time with all this, and there's so many other things I'd rather do, and I get so easily distracted by other things, as you can clearly see. And but no, this actually sounds good. Sounds almost like what was it? Burnout Paradise City, or Burnout whatever the hell it was. That was interesting, where it was like an open world type thing where you go and you get different races and then you just start racing. But you said that it's got the simulation feel, but within like an arcade like setting, if you will. That sounds kind of cool, man. That sounds very cool.
Because it's like, I think Forza 4 or Forza 3 introduced the assist system, where you can basically make the game as hard as you want or as easy as you want. And that's what I like about the Forza series, because I don't really have time to invest, and frankly I find it like a bit frustrating sometimes, and I'd rather just want to play the game. And it's cool that they let you have the options for like casual racing fans like me to play. And I've never actually tried Burnout Paradise, but I really loved the Burnout series before it went open world. So, and when I got my PlayStation 4, my girlfriend actually bought me a Need for Speed Rivals, which is an open world racing game. And I think that Forza Horizon 2 has a way better setup than that one, because it actually has races in them, where Need for Speed Rivals is more like a Grand Theft Auto setup, where you just race everywhere and you're not really racing, you're just like escaping cops or challenging people or doing some objective here and there, where this is actually full-on races all the time, which is I really like.
Yeah, it sounds really cool, man. And the last thing that we were going to talk about, we're doing good today. We're almost at 35 minutes. That's awesome. So the last thing that we're going to talk about today it's a special feature, and I want Steven, this was his idea, and it's a good idea, so I want him to start with this. So go ahead and say what this is all about.
Yeah, basically what I want to talk about is things or games that have eluded us for years or months or whatever that we really, really want for a reason or another. And now with eBay these days, basically any game you can think of is easily obtainable. Okay, sometimes you'll have to pay a really, really huge price for them, but if you want a game and you really want it, you can just go on eBay and get it. So I don't really want to... these don't necessarily need to be expensive or rare games. It's just something that have eluded you for a while and you really want them. And my first item, believe it or not, is actually a PlayStation 2... what do you call it? The thing... not AV adapter, but the thing you plug in the wall there.
Yeah, the AC adapter.
AC adapter. A PlayStation 2 AC adapter. I know I can just go on eBay any day of the week and get one for like $10, but I really, really want to find one in the wild because this is something that I lost either at my parents' place when I moved out or I lent it to a friend. I have no clue because I have everything for my PlayStation 2. I have even the yellow, blue, white cords, and I have one half of my AC adapter, one half of it, and the other half's missing, and I have no clue where it is. So I really, really, really want one because I love my PlayStation 2. I have a PlayStation 3 that's not compatible with PlayStation 2 games, so my only way of playing my PlayStation 2 games is with a PlayStation 2, and I'm missing that one part of it, and I really, really want to find one, and it's eluded me for a few years now, and it's frustrating, but that's the first thing I thought of when I made my list, so I'll let you go off your first item.
I know what your number 2 is.
What?
Dragon Quest 4 box. Damn it. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, you didn't see the video. I got that.
No, you did. I did. I was just going to say that. And it wasn't that. It was the game that you were missing,
I was
right?
missing the game. I lost my DS Lite with the game itself a few years ago when I threw it in the garbage by accident.
I don't know how you do these things.
If you want me to explain a funny story, it'll be only quickly. When I was still living in my parents, I used to put my DS Lite right at the, when you have on a bed, there's 2 mattresses. There's the box spring and there's the mattress. Well, there was a bit of a separation between the mattress and the box spring, so I would just put the DS right beside it, and my garbage can was also right beside my bed. So you can imagine what happened.
Yeah, I can imagine what happened. All right.
And when my dad came to do the garbage, because he always does the garbage in the house, and he goes to every room and takes out the trash. Well, he didn't think about noticing why is this garbage a lot heavier than usual. Just trash it in, and it's now in the.
It's in the landfill.
Yeah, it's a landfill somewhere, being enjoyed by birds and bears.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's funny you mentioned the PlayStation 2. I actually, I've got to pick one of those up because my PlayStation 2, I only have one PS2, and that is on its way out. So I need to buy a PS2 or get my hands on a slimline PS2. I don't need a broadband adapter or any of that crap. So I'm going to actually be on the lookout for one of those because, well, it's so damn small I could keep it anywhere, and I like the fact that the PS2 had component out, so I could do some good videos with that. But anyways, getting back to the topic at hand, the games I'm going to mention, one of them is crazy expensive. One of them is expensive, but it's not, and they're both games, and they're things that I've looked for years. Okay, story time. Way back when, in the arcades, I was a fan of Ghosts and Goblins, or Ghouls and Ghosts, whatever you want to call the series. Never been good at it, though. Never good at this series. It's just, I don't know what it is. I like the music. I love the graphics. I really liked it. It's one of those games where, I don't know why, it appealed to me. I was a really big fan, but I completely suck at it. And there is a series that is not that popular, I would say, that spun off of that, which is the Gargoyles Quest series, I think is what it's called. Now, It's a very unusual series because you play as that, well, gargoyle from Ghosts and Goblins, that little red bastard that would fly around and kill you in like 2 seconds. You play as him, and what's so unique about this is that the series actually began on the original Game Boy. And that was very, very rare in 1989/1990. I don't remember exactly when it came out. And it's bizarre, but I got it for my birthday. So I don't even remember who bought it for me, but someone bought it for me for my birthday. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really unique game. And I found out a year or 2 years later, something like that, that they made Gargoyle's Crest, I think it was. I might be wrong with the names here, guys. I don't have these games with me, but just Steven mentioned this, and it was a good one for me. Anyways, on the NES, they made the sequel, whatever it was called. It was Gargoyle something. And, again, had a really good time with it, and I found myself, just really enjoying it. That was a fantastic game. And for whatever reason, I never knew that there was a third game in the series until much, much later, and it's called Demon's Crest. And I think the reason why is because of that. They changed the name from Gargoyle something to Demon's Crest, and it looks great. I've watched playthroughs of it. I didn't know anyone who actually owned the game, though. And today, to go and find that, it's one of those games that, sells for like, buy it now prices of like $250, $300, some crazy shit like that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend that kind of money. Like, that's retarded. And I know it's available on the Wii. I think, yeah, it's on the Wii U's Virtual Console, but it's on the Wii's Virtual Console. But you know what? I purposely never bought it for one reason. For whatever, it reminds me of my childhood, and I really want to go and experience that on cartridge. I don't care if it's complete in box or any of that crap. I really want to experience this game on my SNES the way it was originally intended. And I've looked for years in the wild, as you would say, and I just could never find it. And on eBay, the prices have always been totally ridiculous. And yeah, I've searched for a long time for that. I'd say, oh my goodness, probably around 96, 97, I've been trying to find a copy of this game, and it's just one of those games that's always eluded me.
Perfect. I'm actually going to cheat here a little because I now thought of another game. So I'm going to list 3 games, and if you only list 2, that's fine, but you're probably going to think of something else while we're talking. But my second game is actually a funny story. I told you about this. I recently did a review of Pokemon Pearl and Diamond, which was fantastic. Actually broke 1,000 views this week. It's one of my most viewed reviews. I'm pretty proud of it. Shameless plug here. And there's a third game in that series called Pokemon Platinum, which I really, really wanted for a while now. And the problem is it's not crazy expensive on eBay, but it's not the price I'd want to pay for it. It's not that uncommon to see a copy for $40 or $35, but when you add shipping, it usually goes around $45 and $50. And I don't really want to pay that price. I could, but I don't want to for a game that I'm not sure I'm actually going to play that much. Knowing me, I probably will once I start, but I want to cover that game for the site eventually, and I want to play it at one point, but I'm not in a hurry to do so, so I want to wait for a decent price. That opportunity actually came a few months ago, or a month, whatever it arrived. I found the game for, I think it was $27, buy it now, or $25, buy it now, with like $5 shipping. The problem was that it had a best offer option.
I remember
and
this.
And every time there's a best offer option, I always, for some reason, I need to try to get a better deal, even though this was the best deal. And I think the seller actually realized that he could get a lot more money for this game, because I submitted my best offer, which I think I submitted like way, way too low. I submitted like $20 instead of maybe if I would have said like 23. But I think he realized that it was a lot cheaper than the going rate, because as soon as he rejected my offer, the auction was over. So either somebody else jumped on it, or he realized it and boom, put it away. And that's what I think happened. So I really, really saddened by that because I could have had the game for a lot cheaper, and I decided to. Well, you called me a cheap ass when I told you that story, and I decided to try to get it for even less. I don't know why I did that, but I'm pretty sure because Pokemon Platinum sold a lot, so it's not like it's a rare game. Pretty sure I can find it. Like if I go to pawn shops and garage sale, eventually I'll find it. Even on eBay, somebody else will slip up and offer it for $20 at one point. And I don't want it new. I just want it complete because it's a Game Boy game, so it's not a Game Boy, but DS game. You don't want those DS cards like just by themselves. I don't care about the manual. I just want the case and the game. And that guy was selling it complete for that price, and I passed it away, and I can't believe I did that. But that's my second pick for today.
I remember that. That's a really good one. My second pick, and I'm going to leave it at 2 for now, just because maybe we can come back to this later on. This is a game this is an interesting story, okay? Years ago, like many, many people, I really loved Capcom's classic Disney titles. Now, I don't think I've told this story before, but I repeat myself on like an hourly basis, so who knows. I was a really, really big fan of DuckTales. I thought that game was the shit. Like, I loved that. And many years later, and I mean many, many years later, I think, like, I went all the SNES life without knowing about this, and I went, I think, almost all the way up to GameCube's life without knowing that there was actually a DuckTales 2 on the NES. And what's interesting with this is I was like, say what? Like, I went crazy when I found out about this, and I started hitting up eBay, and it was around the time when eBay was like really first just really, you know, hitting its stride. And so there were a lot of good deals to be found, except nobody had the game. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I remember I was like, you know, I started questioning myself, like, does it really exist? Or is it like one of these things, you know, like an urban legend, like that gold cartridge NES thing, you know? For a long time, I was like, yeah, that doesn't really exist. That's a bunch of BS. But what's interesting is I then forgot about it. I totally forgot about it, and it sort of disappeared off my radar. It's not a game that I've been looking for years and years. I was at one point, and then it just disappeared. And when DuckTales Remastered came along, I remembered the game again. And I was like, oh yeah, hey, well, I never did find that. And went on eBay, went on Kijiji and Craigslist and all that, and almost passed out when I saw, like, it being sold for, I don't know, $500 or something. I was like, what? Crazy. And like, just with the cart alone, not even with like anything, was like 300 and something. I almost like passed out. So yeah, I think DuckTales 2 is going to be one that's going to be left just to the past for me, unless like something changes dramatically, because I do not believe that's ever been released on like a virtual console or anything like that, and I'm not an emulation fan, so I don't want to play it like that. So yeah, that's one. It's an interesting one, and that's why, like, I'm sure there are more, but for me right now, like, if I'm working on something, I'm concentrating on something, I'm going to totally forget everything else. And I'm sure there are other games that I have looked for and I just totally forgot.
That's a pretty cool story. I actually learned that it was a DuckTales to myself. Like, I think I was watching like a Johnny 81 Gamester 81 or something, that his YouTube name is, video, and he talked about that game, and thought it was pretty cool because not a lot of people know that game existed, so that's funny you bring it out. And my last game is, like I said in the beginning of this video, I talked about a game called Pokemon Trading Card Game for the Game Boy Color, which I was a huge fan of when I was a child. I thought it was a fantastic Game Boy Color game. Well, I found out, which I think it was the beginning of this year, that there was actually a sequel to that game in Japan called Pokemon Trading Card GB2. And I was like, what the fuck? This never came here. Why? Like, Pokemon Trading Card Game, when it was released, was at the peak of the Pokemon craziness in the States. I don't know if you remember how big Pokemon was back then, but it was crazy. Like, the games are still popular now, but back then there was movies every year, there was the cartoon show, there was merchandise, everything, there was cereal, it was huge. So I don't know why they did not release this game. Would have made money for sure on it. But then I said, well, whatever. I'll import the game. The Game Boy Color isn't region lock, and even though it's Japanese heavy text, it's like I know so much of the series that I know I would be able to navigate my way through the game, so no problem. But it's like you with DuckTales 2. It's not as expensive as DuckTales 2, but that game is $200 to $300, and there's no way I'm gonna spend $300 on a Game Boy Color game. There's just no way. And it's sad. I'll probably never get to play that game. I was such a big fan of the original, and it's just something like you. I just realized years and years later that there was actually a sequel for it. Never knew about.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that you were talking all about that. I remember that, and because you found, what was it? You found something. I forget how the story went. You found you were wrong though. Like it was like some auction or something, and then you were mistaken.
Yeah, there was a guy who was, I don't know how you do that, but on eBay you can put many different items on one auction, so you can choose from a variety of items, and they all have a select price. But since he was also selling like cheaper Pokemon games at cheaper money, I thought that I could buy that game for that price, but it actually automatically changes once you select that particular game, so that's why I was wrong.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yeah, it sucks. You know, that's the one thing. It's unfortunate. Like, it's great now that the world is a lot smaller thanks to the internet for a lot of different reasons. But for collectors like this, yeah, it has made it a lot easier for certain things. Like, for example, my TurboGrafx 16 collection. It's great. I mean, seriously, being able to, like, talk to people all over the world, it allows me to sort of branch out and maybe get access to games I could never get before. But the flip side, prices have just gotten out of control. I mean, when I looked the other day for that Saturn video I was doing, I put Panzer Dragoon Saga, and I almost, like, flipped out, man. Have you seen what that game goes for now?
I did not know.
Well, the whole series goes for almost $1,000. And if you want just Panzer Dragoon Saga, okay, with all 4 discs, bidding, not even anything else, just bidding, goes to around $400. A buy it now is usually around $500 and up.
So the prices really went up, because I think 2 years ago you could get it complete for like $250.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, it's just incredible, man. Just incredible. Like, right now, I'm on eBay right now, and there's 1 day, 7 hours left, Panzer Dragoon Saga, $285. Like, you know that's going to hit almost $400 by the time it's done. That's just insane, man. And that's the thing, like...
It's crazy, because you can get that same game, the PAL version, for much less, and it's in English, so...
Yeah, man, I exactly. Like, I don't understand why certain things have gone so high.
Because there's a game that you're going to be covering during your Halloween special that I checked on eBay recently, and you were right. Like, the import version is extremely cheap, but if you want to get the PAL version, which is the only way to play it in English, it's $500. That's crazy.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And I even had a couple of people from Europe I've been speaking to. Now, people won't know this unless they read all the comments and stuff, so I won't give it away. But, like, I had some people from Europe actually write me in when I was speaking of this game in comments to some of them, and I was saying, you know, like, I wouldn't mind spending, say, like £100, but no more than that, because that's crazy, you know? And they're like, yeah, that's never gonna happen, dude. And so I was like, well, then it's never gonna happen, you know. Like, I'm not gonna spend $7,000 on these games. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous, especially when you think back and you look at this stuff. Like, look at House of the Dead. That game is ass, man. That was a rushed port because there were no games coming out on the Saturn in 1998. Like, there were nothing, and like, House of the Dead is fun. It's a fun game, but it looks horrible. It has a frame rate, I think it's of 20 frames per second, or I might be mistaken, you know, whatever. I want to cover the game, actually, sometime soon. But if you want to buy that game today, you're looking at $200. Like, what? $200 for a crappy light gun game? Yeah, it's fun, but holy jeez, like, That's the thing. Like eBay and the internet has absolutely destroyed the prices of like for collecting purposes. It's just insane. I mean, Super Nintendo, you cannot collect for Super Nintendo anymore. It's done. It's finished. The nail is in the coffin. The coffin is closed, and it's underneath the ground because even basic stuff like Super Metroid is like $80 loose now. That's friggin' insane, man. That's completely ridiculous.
That's really crazy because I bought Super Metroid loose like maybe 5 years ago, and I paid $20 for it.
Yeah.
Right there for loose, and now you're saying it's $80. Like,
well, let's check here.
Maybe
I'm exaggerating. Let's check. Okay, Super Metroid. It finishes an auction, okay? Because that gives you the best, you know, it gives you a good idea. The auction finishes in 4 hours, and it's at $47.
For a loose copy.
Yeah, for a loose copy. And a buy it now is $60 for a loose.
Yeah, well, that's still triple the price I paid like 5 years ago or 7 years ago. So that's a pretty good increase.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, it's insane.
Especially considering that usually when you're buying a loose copy is that you don't really care about like collecting. You just want to play it. And if you do, you can pick it up on the virtual console for way cheaper. So that's what I don't get about all this stuff. I thought that Earthbound would go down once the virtual console release came, but it did not at all. Probably
not
went
at
up
all.
even, and it like Earthbound is not really a rare game. It's just something that people didn't buy back in the day, but it got a lot of copies around, and it's still selling for crazy amounts of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, the cheapest one on eBay for everything, okay, for like the complete set, is it's got 3 days, 7 hours left, okay? It's at $571.
Yeah.
Like, merde, like, good lord. It's crazy. And here you go, buy it now, 1,000. Perfect.
You
should
take two, man. Get me one.
Well, I think that's about it. We're going to hit the hour mark now, so I think that's a good podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. You have any closing comments?
Well, stay tuned tomorrow. Halloween week begins. 6 fantastic reviews, and then we're going to finish off with a pretty cool laid-back podcast on Friday, the Halloween the 31st, so keep it locked to projectcoe.com.
And I have nothing else to add. That's a perfect way of ending. Take care, everyone.